Hey, so today I'm here to do February's Q&A. I almost forgot about this, but I didn't. So I asked for questions over on Instagram and you guys delivered some really good ones and some new ones. I'm really excited to answer these ones. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started so I can get to as many as possible. So the first one is, what are two pumps you wish you never came across? And I was actually having this conversation with Mark the other night, and quite frankly, even though there have been pumps that I haven't liked personally, I'm glad I've tried them. There hasn't been a pump that I've tried that I've thought this will absolutely not work for anybody. I could never see anybody actually using this pump and liking it. I have been able to find with each pump, even the ones that I don't personally enjoy, things that I think other people might enjoy about them. So I'm glad that I've tried as many that I have. It's also put me in a position that I feel like I can give a pretty well-rounded answer whenever someone asks for my help on picking a breast pump. That way I'm not just saying whatever I think fits. If they want to give me some more details and they want to tell me about their situation and things that they personally like and what they're looking for, then I can give a much more kind of thought out recommendation, because there have been times that I've recommended those pumps that I didn't personally enjoy, but based off of what somebody else has told me, I think that it'd be a good fit for them. So for that reason, there aren't any that I wish that I hadn't tried, but there are plenty that I do wish that I could try. But I do not have unlimited resources, so they're gonna have to wait. But the next question is, what flange brand and style do you use daily? I use the Medela 21mm flanges. I put those on my Lancino connectors for my Lancino Smart Pump 2.0 because I just prefer those ones. That's what I used back when I had Sophie. I bought my very first pair of 21s when I still had to order them off of Medela's website, and that's what I've stuck with ever since. They do fit the Lancino pump connector, so I just stick them right on there, and that's what I use. However, as of recently, I've also been using the Lactech flanges in size 21mm because I do find those helpful to empty me in the morning, or just sometimes where I feel like my 21s aren't working super well for me. Sometimes a little change can be good and it can actually help you empty and provide the things that you feel like you're struggling with. So I bounce between the Medela 21mm and the Lactech 21mm flanges. The next question is, what's the hardest part about EP for you? I would say, now being a mom of three and two of which are in school, I would say the morning. It'd be really nice if I could wake up and, I didn't have to pump, but I do. And in the morning, it's typically my biggest pump, so I am sitting there for longer. And it's just like, I'm trying to do everything as much as I can from my couch. In a perfect world, I would get up before my kids and I would pump and, I would greet the kids with breakfast and stuff, but my 6-month-old still gets up several times throughout the night. I am tired and I take as much sleep as I can before I absolutely have to wake up for drop off at preschool. So yeah, the mornings are a little tough. And I would say this time around, that's what has been the hardest for me, because there's just so many mornings where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to roll out of bed and just like get our day going, but I have to pump first. And it's kind of funny because with Remy, it was the opposite. I don't know if you could say technically the opposite, but with her, it was like I always just wanted to go to bed. I think that's because both our kids were sleeping through the night, and I knew I was going to get a sound sleep. So with Remy, it was like, oh, I wish I could just go to bed, but I always had to pump right before I went to bed. And the next question is, how do you balance time between your older kids with a newborn? And that's something I'm also going to answer on Instagram, because I get a fair amount of questions regarding that, but also things to do with it. And basically, I go to their preschool 2 times a week and I'm there with them the entire time. So I have that alone time with them. Obviously, they're not sticking by my side the entire time they're at preschool, but I am having, time alone with them. I am giving them my attention where Lexi is not there. I don't have to stop and do anything for her. Like, she's just not in the equation. And we do have a couple of days a week where we are able to just have this time with each other that doesn't include the baby. So that's made it really nice and really easy. But it's also the reason that I don't post a lot of pictures of the older girls on Instagram or anywhere else for that matter, because 99% of the pictures I have of the older girls are at their school, and I'm just not comfortable posting that. So for the reason it looks really lopsided, because I do share videos and pictures and stuff of Lexi, but she's at home where I'm comfortable sharing our surroundings. But when it comes to school, I would like to keep that a little bit more private, and that's where I take all of our pictures, like even just outside of the school and stuff like that. Just, it's very rare that I have a good picture of the two of them at home. I just can't get them to even sit still long enough. As far as Mark goes, there's just different times where I will take Lexi and he'll play video games with the big girls, or, just kind of do something a little bit more oriented towards them, whether they're painting, playing with kinetic sand, stuff obviously the baby can't do. So the next question is, how do you manage to pump while also looking after mobile children, the older kids? And they are actually really well behaved typically while I pump. Of course, there have been a couple occasions where things have not gone so smoothly, but typically they know that when I pump, I'm pumping for food for Lexi, and they understand that. They know that she drinks breast milk and mom makes that breast milk. So typically they are just chilling in the living room. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this back when I used to answer questions about exclusively pumping for Remy, but our living room also doubles as their playroom. So when they want to play with stuff or they want to watch TV, whatever it might be, it's all happening in the same room that I'm also pumping in. So that's also a bonus as well. It might be different if they had a playroom or whatever. There have been times where I've asked them to come back into their bedroom and play quietly because their sister is napping out there and I'm pumping, and it can just be a lot. And they've behaved pretty well back here as well. I don't know, just at this age, they typically are pretty responsible and they listen pretty well, fortunately. I do get asked for snacks quite a bit while I'm pumping, but I actually set up a basket system that you might have seen on my Instagram before Lexi was born, and it has basically 3 baskets on the wall, and there's just some snacks out for them to grab, so I don't have to be the one who gets up and gets them something and interrupt my pump session. They just have to ask if they can have one. I tell them to go pick something, and there you go. And fortunately, that's been working out pretty well. Now, if you have younger kids, a baby gate works great. I still have our baby gate up, even though the older girls can work it. It still allows me to hear if they're leaving or entering the room, so that's pretty nice too. The next question is, where do you store your breast pumps? Currently, they're all in Lexi's room, in the middle room. I loosely say her room because there's hardly anything but like a dresser of hers in there, but I just have them in there for the time being. I'm currently trying to rehome some of the pumps that I have, whether it's, finding local moms around me who need them, selling the ones that I've bought, stuff like that. So it just kind of depends, but honestly, I only really keep a few. I don't really like to have more than 3 because honestly, I probably won't even use that 3, but it's nice to have. I typically keep one in my bedroom. That is my Lance No Smart Pump, the one that I got through my insurance this time around with Lexi's pregnancy. In my living room, where I typically pump, is my Lance No Smart Pump 2.0. And then in my travel bag, I like to keep a pump just in case I really need to just grab that bag and go. And right now, I think I have my Motif Duo in there. I switch between the Duo and the Maya. So a lot of people have asked me to do that comparison and to give them a recommendation, and it is so close because I really do enjoy those pumps super well, but I've been trying to figure that out before I do that comparison. But that's typically really all I like to have. So as far as storing them goes, with the one in my bedroom, I just keep it in my bedside table. The one out in the living room, I keep it in a diaper caddy that's underneath one of our side tables. And then the one that's in my pump bag is in my pump bag. And that's typically what I like to do. I'm going to start this question over because I got a little rambly. So let me try to give a little bit cleaner, streamlined response instead of giving a 20-minute spiel on it. So the question was, have you emotionally dealt with Lexi being your last baby? Because I haven't with my son. So this is a little bit of a complicated answer for me. Personally, I probably have it easier than people who are absolutely done because we haven't said that we're absolutely done. We are both still open to the idea of adoption. It's not something we're planning for. It's not something we're pursuing. It's something that might not ever happen, but it's not a door that's closed to us. So it doesn't feel like never having any more kids is completely out of the question either. So in that sense, I do feel like I have it easier. I don't have to process that side of it or that emotion or that understanding, but I do struggle and have to deal with the fact that she's our last biological child. And for me, it's hard for a different reason than the fact that she is our last biological child. And that is more so if I take how we got her out of the equation and just focus on the feelings of her being here and how we feel as a family. Both Mark and I have said that this just feels like complete. Even though we both wanted 4 kids, like, it just feels like she completes our family, and if we never had any more kids, we could be content. And I think it's because of everything that happened in getting her that I struggle with that fact. Because even though she does complete our family and we do feel content, and the door to adoption is still not something that's entirely closed, I feel like something was taken from me. Like the choice was taken from me. You know, I didn't come to the decision to have no more biological children because we did say, okay, this is going to be our last. It was a decision that was, quite frankly, the only responsible one we felt like could be made. And I struggle with that all the time because it just felt like something I did not have a say in, something I can't control, something I can't fix. You know, just all these things that I don't feel like I should have been in that position. I did nothing to deserve it. You know, we wanted something different. Why couldn't we have had that? You know, just all these kind of emotions about it. And it's tough. It really is. She will most likely be our last. So I have been trying to take in the moments that I know will be gone in just a couple weeks. You know, this isn't our first kid. I know how quickly time moves. So I'm trying to really be in moments and really take stuff in and, you know, giving myself some space and grace about it when I do have some tough emotions, because you're allowed to have them. I don't think there's any shame in being human and having feelings about it at all. But at the same time, I try not to dwell on it either. You know, I had to sort through her very little itty bitty baby clothes and I did not sort through them. While I was putting them in a pile over time, I was taking out the ones I knew I wanted to keep for keepsakes. And aside from that, I just took them and stuffed them in a bag because I knew if I sat there and I sorted through them, I would lose my mind. So for that reason, I don't know, I just do the best that I can, and I don't really have any advice because I struggle myself with the feelings that I have about our situation, and I know that it's hard. So if you're struggling with it, just know that you're not alone because I'm there. You know, everyone's situation is a little bit different and their feelings might be a little bit different, but nonetheless, it's still hard. So I wish I had some more advice for you, but honestly, I'm still trying to figure this out too. So the next question is, what do you do for your self-care as a mom of 3? Mom of now 2 littles looking for ideas. I would say probably the biggest one is going grocery shopping by myself. I know that probably doesn't sound like self-care, but to me it does. It is. Thankfully, it's just worked out really nicely. It just allows me every couple of weeks to have a few hours where I can listen to my own music in the car. I can go a few hours without having to worry about somebody else or an argument being started or like whatever. And then being able to come home a little bit refreshed because I was out of the house interacting with other adults and stuff like that. But I mean, other stuff is, you know, like visiting my friends. You know, every once in a while I'll head over for the evening and hang out with a friend, or I don't know, just little small things honestly make the big difference. The bigger something is, the guiltier I tend to feel about it. So like if it would be like a trip or, you know, an appointment, like a hair appointment or something, I tend to back out of those kind of things because I will just get in my own head. I will give myself some mom guilt, wife guilt, and tell myself it doesn't need to happen. But it's easier for me to make little decisions like, okay, I'll just go grocery shopping by myself. I'm going to hang out with a friend who lives just a town over for a little bit. Stuff like that, that is easier for me to do because I know that if it's too big, I just won't do it. So the next question is, do you ever get scared to lose supply trying new pumps if they don't work? Absolutely, but it's also why I keep my other pumps around. I cannot just solely rely on new pumps and trust them. So if I feel like something's not right, and at this point, I do get a gut feeling, I'm able to, like, I know my boobs basically. And if I feel like I'm not emptying, of course, I go back in with, you know, a pump that I do trust and I do use and it works well for me. And that way I can still take care of things and not lose my supply, because as much as I love coming on here and giving you guys reviews and, you know, testing things out for you guys so you know if it's worth your own money, I can't risk not doing this for my kids. It's important to me. It's important that I keep doing it. So for that reason, I would always pick breastfeeding over doing reviews. But yeah, that's the reason why I keep my other tried and true pumps close by when I'm trying a different pump, just in case I run into problems. The next question is, how's the outlet going for you guys? It's working great. There are tons of things that I've been meaning to do reviews on, but it's super hard when you use them every single day. It's really, really tough because it feels like they're constantly in use. You're always just 1 second away from needing to use it. So it's been kind of hard, but we absolutely love our outlet. It has been a huge peace of mind. The next question is, could you imagine having a boy? You know, I thought about that the other day. I don't know what it's like. You know, I didn't even have a brother growing up. I had a younger sister. So I haven't had very many boys in my life. I have plenty of nephews. My best friend just had a little boy. So I am going to definitely be around boys for the rest of my life. But in trying to think of what a son would be like, I have no idea. I have no idea. But at the same time, I am content with that. The next question is the hardest part and easiest part of the age gaps between all three. The hardest part is also the easiest part. Now that they are older, Sophie being 5, almost 5.5, Remy being nearly 4, and Lexi being 6 months old, is that while they do understand more, they understand more. You know, Sophie's able to go get us a diaper or wipes if, you know, Lexi has a blowout and we're trying to keep her from getting everywhere. You know, Remy can go get me a pump bottle if I forgot to grab one and I already started. They can grab their own snacks. They can go to potty themselves. Like, you know, everything. They are so self-sufficient. They are older now and they know what they want. They can verbalize that to me. I can help them through things. Like, it's a lot easier. But at the same time, they're older and they notice things and things matter now. So when Sophie was younger and we had Remy, Sophie was 1.5 years when she was born, you know, she didn't notice it if we had to spend less time with her. She was perfectly fine playing with her toys and, you know, doing stuff that a normal rambunctious 1.5-year-old does. Like, she never had any issues. She wasn't observing and keeping score and noticing stuff like that. But now they're older and they do notice stuff like that. So it's made us be a lot more conscious of things that we do and we say, stuff like that. And also really grateful because they are 2 really great girls. They're 3 really great girls, but I'm talking about the older girls right now. And, you know, they're great kids and we're super thankful to have them. And it's just tough, you know, because it can be kind of a double-edged sword, but we try our best. So the easiest and hardest thing is that they're just more aware and they're older and, you know, while they can be more helpful and self-sufficient, they definitely notice a lot more and their feelings can get hurt easier and stuff like that. So yeah, goes both ways with that. And the next question is, when will you switch your oldest to either a high back booster or a regular booster? So she is in a high back booster. It just has a harness on, Sophie does. And whenever she outgrows the weight limit for the harness with that car seat, I can just take the straps out for the harness, and it will be a high back booster. And then the back comes off and it can be a regular booster. That's why I love that Kiko seat so much. And actually, we just ordered Remy one, so she's going to be going in the same exact seat as her sister. So they will both be in a harness seat for quite some time. I think the limit is pretty high on it. I don't think that they're going to reach it anytime soon, and I'm perfectly okay with that. 5-point harnesses are just safer. It's a fact. So for that reason, they will have one until, they grow out of it. I've had comments made before about like, well, what about if their friends, they see their friends get out of cars right now at preschool drop off and nothing has ever been said about it. It's not something that's up for debate. Even if it is, I'm sorry, but their safety comes first. So there's that. And the next question is your honest opinion on school drop off and pickup line. Ours actually is pretty fine. Like, I don't have any complaints. I know some people have very passionate views about their drop off and pickups, but our preschool is pretty relaxed and I don't have any complaints as a whole of our preschool experience at all. If anything, it's just reinforced my belief in preschool and my love for it, and especially the one that my kids go to. I just very passionately feel like it's a great school. But I don't have any bad experiences about it. If anything, I'm the bad experience because I show up late constantly to both of them. But it might change when my kids are in public school for elementary, junior high, high school, whatever, because I've heard that can be a lot more stringent and detailed and intense from what I hear. So ask me this question again next fall and see if it's changed. And the very last question is, how did you plan / manage exclusively pumping a 2-3-month-old while taking care of toddlers? I mean, it's rough. It really is. I got that question even back when I was exclusively pumping with just Sophie and Remy, and I don't know much more than what to tell you guys that we typically do, because a lot of it is just feeling it out for yourselves. You can have an idea of how things are going to go, especially with this being the third time around for me. I kind of knew what I might be getting into, but even then it was different. I thought I was going to have a lot harder of a time with the girls and that they would constantly need me and that things would kind of be a mess and all this other stuff. And it's actually been one of the easier EP journeys for me, but I can get into that in a different video, maybe the next update or something. I don't know. But if you guys would like my experience the third time around and my viewpoints and maybe how it's changed over years, let me know. But it's just doing what you can when you can. When Lexi was first born, Mark did have 2 weeks off from work, so that was really nice to help get me started, because by the end of the 2 weeks, I was transitioning into mostly exclusively pumping, and from there we just had to try and make things work. Putting Lexi in the bouncer right next to the couch, right in front of me, has worked great. And if she's not in there because she's eating or sleeping, she will be playing on her playmat or in her little activity table, and she really likes those things. As far as the older girls go, having them have screen time while I'm pumping, snacks, some color Wonder Crayola that won't mark on anything other than a certain paper. Stuff like that is really awesome. Having them stay in the room that you're pumping in can be super helpful. That way they're not getting into stuff they shouldn't be. Little things like that. I know that's not a perfect answer. It does involve screen time and bribing your kids with food, but it works. It allows me to get done what needs to be done and, adapt that. Make it fit your family. Trust me, you can figure it out. It doesn't have to be figured out the second you start exclusively pumping or starting beforehand. I think that's why I do get that question a lot, is people do want to be prepared or they want to know the best way to approach it. But the best way is to see what your kids need and to adapt. Like, that's what I've done. There have been plenty of people who say other things and I'm like, how could they ever do that? My kids would never go for that. But that works for their kids because that's their family, and what works for my kids might not work for yours, so you just kind of got to gauge what everybody's needing and what you think is going to fly with your kids to let you sit down and pump for that X amount of time, and just do your best to do that and kind of roll with it. But those are all the questions on Instagram. You guys did a super job. I was loving those new questions. I felt like I got a lot of unique ones in there. I will be doing another Q&A in April. Yes, because next month will be a favorites video. So if you would like to submit a question for April's Q&A, make sure you're following me on Instagram. I pop a story in right around the time I go to film this with a little question box where you guys can leave those. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.